Thank you, Denise. This is the electronic meeting script for the Fairfax County History Commission Advocacy Committee meeting, July 12th, 2021. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically, the History Commission Advocacy Committee needs to make certain findings for the record to evidence our compliance with all applicable laws. These motions address this compliance. First, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and your location. I ask that each of you pay close attention and ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. Tammy Manarino, Carol Herrick,
Carol Herrick, McLean.
Barbara Peters. She'll come in later, I hope. Lynn Garvey Hodge. Subi Mehdi. At this point, I will, and then Ann Stuntz in Vienna. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Carol Herrick, so I may make the appropriate motions. I move that the Fairfax County History Commission Advocacy certify for the record that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of this board. Second, I move the name of the Advocacy Committee of the Fairfax County History Commission certify the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this commission and the public to physically attend this meeting in person, and the usual procedures cannot be implemented safely or practically. As a result, I further move that this organization conduct this meeting electronically through dedicated video and audio conferencing line, and that the public may access this meeting by calling
1-844-621-3956, event number 179-732-7511.
Thank you, Denise. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Carol. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Finally, I move that the Advocacy Committee of the History Commission certify that the matters on its agenda today relate to the COVID-19 emergency itself and are necessary for continuity in Fairfax County government and are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this commission's lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities. Is there a second?
I second. Herrick.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, so now we really call the meeting to order. And I don't have minutes per se, but this is the first meeting we will have had since March 13, 2020, when we met in person at the Freeman Store and Museum. Today, we're going to talk about review and brainstorm about efforts to conduct advocacy for our organization in all sorts of ways. So we're starting with talking about the newsletter that we talked about in the past. I see 2 attendees. Yeah, can we hear Barbara yet? Barbara Peters.
So I can't make her, for some reason, I can't make her a panelist. It just doesn't let me. I think she's coming in as an attendee, but usually I can make attendees panelists, but I can't.
Remember that? Do you remember that call when I had you had to hold your phone?
Yes.
Maybe we can do that. I'm going to call her. Oh wait, but she's on the other line.
Oh no, she's not on the line. She's on her computer.
Oh, I see. So she can maybe see. Can they see us, or if they're attendees and they go?
Yeah, I think so.
Barbara, if you see us or hear us, I'm going to phone you and see if we can get your voice on this call. If you don't mind, let me just try it. I mean, you might as well, right? Because we would really love to talk to you. And I have to tell you all about the flower show, but maybe I'll do that later. Because I'm not sure Denise would be that interested. Okay, I have a home and a mobile. If I were Barbara Peters, what would I want? What do you think? I'm gonna
I
try
would
your home
try- Yeah, I would try home.
first because you might have a better connection.
Yeah, landlines are usually better.
Of course, I never use mine. Is that Barbara? Is that the Barbara Peters? This is Ann Stunt speaking. I wondered if, because we're having some technical difficulties, making your voice heard, I wondered if you'd mind attending our meeting by my phone's speakerphone. It might be,
I can't do anything on the computer. WebEx, no matter what I click on, no matter how I try to go in, it says I'm an attendee and there's no video and no sound.
even,
I can't hear anything.
have you tried with the, with just the telephone call?
I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm really fed up with it.
The only reason I say it is
Can
because
Barbara, I can hear Barbara through my phone. Can we just do it this way?
we maybe could. Would you mind doing it just now on the phone with us? We won't be very long. I mean, it's a little awkward, but it's only Carol and me and Denise. So,
Okay, that's fine. But I mean, the meeting last week, I took 8 times. And for reasons I don't understand. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
yeah, if with any luck, we'll start meeting in person sometime soon and we won't have this so much. But I think people will want to do a little bit of electronic meetings in the future if we're able,
I
and
bought this stupid tablet for the sole purpose of doing WebEx meetings.
oh, that's a shame. I recommended,
It worked for 6 months and now I'm not able to get into anything.
I recommend, Barbara, Nave has been having really big problems. And I recommended that she beg Denise to put her in touch with an IT person to just try to work on some practice meetings, without,
It isn't that because I can do every other format.
well, that's what,
WebEx.
but that's what I mean. I mean an IT person at Fairfax County to create some WebEx meetings and try to problem solve what's happening with you. Because Barbara Nave, see, it's the Barbaras. You both are running into a variety of problems. And we're always trying to troubleshoot them at meetings when we almost can bet on it that you're going to have a problem.
Give me a couple of minutes. I got to go take care of, the dinner. I'll be
Okay.
back.
So I'm just saying maybe completely separate from the meeting, if we could prevail on Denise to find us some very patient and clever person who could help troubleshoot, without, where all you're trying to do is try it. And anyway, here we are, we're having a meeting. So we'll do a quick little brainstorm. If we review what we've talked about before, I think back March of last year, the Tammy was working on a 1-page. Well, you were doing it too, Carol, and I was doing it too. A 1-page newsletter, or as short as you could. 1 page was hard. A short enough newsletter that people would read it, about us. And I think that we should get Tammy. She just really wanted to be here but couldn't. She got a big conflict. And so I think we should pursue that, because I think that would be a useful thing, even if all we did initially was quarterly. The other kinds of things, so that's a big piece right there. I think somebody asked Denise a while back if this is a separate thing, or related actually, if the History Commission has a list serve, and it just felt like, we don't. And, but you know who does I mean, I don't even know what the word listserv technically means, but if I call it a mailing list, then that's basically what it means, isn't it? But kind of,
But it's something that requires people to actively want to pursue it. And I think we have to be the ones pursuing them.
well, or it might be you do both. So if we had a mailing list, we could send it out and say, who wants to be on our listserv? I don't know, but we just can learn more about it. I think one of the most valuable local history services that anybody does in this county is Suzanne Levy's gigantic email list that she uses. And that's kind of like a listserv. Everybody she sends to are people who've said, will you include me? Will you include me? It's very casual, but
I'm back. I'm back.
oh, good.
If you heard, I'm back.
We were talking about using the internet, Barbara, Carol, to contact people either by direct emails, which you could do with the newsletter, or develop a listserv that people sign up for, and I don't know much about it, but I guess the trouble with anything is that it needs to be maintained, but a listserv, they're only going to hear from us whenever we have something to say, right? You're not necessarily required to have a schedule.
If we were going to have a newsletter, we would want a schedule, and it would mean
Agreed.
somebody has to do it. And it's like the web page. Somebody's got to do it.
Exactly.
And,
we need to give them. We need to
the
feed
newsletter
content.
could be. I mean, it's a great idea. I think it's a fabulous idea. But in practicality, since I've been on the History Commission, we've added more committees, more assignments. There's more to do, and we're adding another task here. I'm not saying not to do it. I think we should explore the possibility of.
Well, I think we've always wanted to do something where we spread the work out, where we're not saddling a person with some giant new job. Because like you say, we've just taken on the new committee of the cemetery. We do have a lot of responsibilities.
Well, and I think that when you do a newsletter, I mean, just like what we did a year ago, you end up having to have standardized format, certain schedule, and we don't always have something to say all the time.
Yeah, but if you look at our committees, we could probably, in fact, this would be a good follow-up, is to look at the committees we have and see what their kind of schedule is. So you know that you're going to have, you might want to always get something out a month before or 2 months before the history conference. You might always want to get something out, I don't know, 2 months or 6 months before the awards are due. There might be certain things that are
because there is a fixed or close to fixed plan schedule. But I mean, take the marker committee.
Yeah, they're very. I know, that's a good point. You could.
So some years there may be almost none, and other years there may be 3 or 4, just because that's when it came together. That's when we were able to accomplish it. So I mean, it's not something you can say, well, every March the marker committee is going to, send out something.
Yeah, well, you could. There's two things I was just thinking with respect to that. One is that you could say, well, we want to do periodic newsletters, and don't put ourselves into a rut. But just know that there's a few that will fit into our schedule, And then there's all the others that are completely unpredictable, like you say, like markers. Or
Why
last year,
can't we do that on the web page? Why
pardon?
can't we use the web page and do that?
You could, but you don't reach out with it. It's completely passive. It sits there.
And it requires the people to look.
Yeah. So,
And there's no for them to go look.
so another idea.
I mean, you referenced Suzanne Levy's email that she sent out about staff changes in the library.
Yeah.
And, I mean, sometimes, it's 2 months, you don't hear anything at all from her. And sometimes that's because she was busy or nothing happened when the library was closed. But,
Yes.
I mean, then you get a whole bunch all at once.
Yes.
Catching up.
Yes.
And maybe that is the better way to go. Sharing information when we need to get out and rather than something that's on a fixed schedule and has a pretty layout format and expectations of a
Yeah,
regular.
maybe the more casual the better, but just have like a little bit of our seal or something that's part of it that makes it a little bit formal, but not too structured. That's a thought. The other thing I was talking to Lynn about. Lynn has she's something interesting tonight at exactly the same time. But I was asking her about using the county's press office or the DPD's new communications person, to have these folks. I mean, we can do press releases too. We do a number of press-worthy things. And, our history commission, right now, the press we get tends to be stuff we have pushed out. That's a combination. Sometimes the press reaches out to us, but a lot of times, somebody like Lynn will write up the history conference and send it to whoever she sends it to. But maybe there would be
With or without our blessing.
exact yes. But maybe I just don't know if it would be too many hoops to jump through to work with the county's press office, because they're very good. I don't know that they'd even want to work with us, but they would, if you know what I mean. But this is the whole trouble. One of the troubles with advocacy is almost everything we come up with is kind of a big idea. Oh, well, we have some others we've talked about. Barbara, I went through a bunch of old advocacy notes. And another thing that we've talked about is trying to kind of formalize or in some way really push contact between Subi. Hello.
Hi, and I'm so sorry. I thought this was at 7:30, so I'm
I
sorry.
thought so. That's you flip a coin and it could be either way.
Yeah.
So we have on our you and I are participant panelists,
Uh-huh.
and then we have one attendee by phone, which is Carol Herrick, and then one who is just Carol can actually talk to us. Barbara Peters can't talk to us, but I have her on my cell phone on the speaker.
Okay.
So we're winging it.
Hey, Anne, and I'm sorry to interject, but could I ask Barbara Peters, are you able to call in, or are you not able to call in at all?
I had basically just so set up with how many times I've had to go in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, trying to get into meetings. And I just, I said, no, I'm not doing it. And I was about to close the whole damn thing down when Ann called me.
we,
So I'm on my, my regular home line right now.
could,
Okay, I just wanted to point out that I'm having a lot of difficulty hearing Barbara when she speaks. And I don't know whether the recording is going to pick her voice up or not.
I hear
So
you.
that's, yeah.
Barbara, if you could, stand to maybe either hang up this phone or do it on your cell phone and call the call-in line. Is that what you would work, Denise, you think, like Carol did?
Yes, exactly. I don't have any difficulties hearing Carol, but I'm really struggling to hear Barbara, and I imagine that Carol and Subi will have a difficulty time. Maybe it's just me, and the recording, I'm not sure is going to pick up her voice either.
Okay.
Okay, what is the number?
If Barbara wants the call-in line, I've got it.
Okay, somebody repeat it for Barbara.
Barbara, call-in line, 1-844-621-3956. They'll ask you to press pound,
Press
and then 179-732-7511. They'll ask you to hit pound, and then you hit pound again.
Okay, well, I will give this a try.
Thank you, Barbara.
I don't know how long my cell phone's gonna last though, because that is not,
I know. Or do it on your landline.
no thanks.
All right, I'll hang up.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. So we started off, Subi, refreshing our memory that our last meeting was Friday the 13th of March, 2020. So that's just it. We never had another meeting in person and still haven't in the History Commission. So, but we were making a great plan to work on a very short periodic newsletter, which we're still in brainstorming status with. Tammy is on this committee and couldn't come, but she was working on a format and content. We have never done, the only thing we do routinely is our annual report every year, although I think we're behind a year now. I don't believe we have a 2019, and the 2020 is just due sometime. And so this is a wonderful piece, but it's not a marketing piece. It's just everything we do. And then we have a little trifold that was done for the 275th. So it was done in 2017. And it's not very marketing either. It's just informative in a dry sort of way. It was useful for what we needed it for. And the cover's at least pretty. So that's one thing. And we say periodic as opposed to quarterly because our own schedule is, we have a few things that you can count on. We know when awards are due. We know when the history conference is. But a lot of other things we're more reacting to things where, resident curator bubbles along. We have special events when there's a 100th anniversary of something. The markers are very responsive to what other people are doing. The inventory is the same way. A lot of these things are on no schedule at all. So we kind of like the idea of something to prepare to email out to a not very robust at this point email list, but it's not terrible. We did one for when we were working on a strategic plan a couple of years ago. We got all the local, we called them stakeholders, just everybody we could think of in every history oriented entity. I'm seeing
I hope
Barb.
we kept that list.
Yeah, Greg had it, and it's probably, it means we probably all have, a number of us have it somewhere. So, and then, I mean, I probably have, I'm sure it's in my computer. It's just at the office and not here, so I feel, I don't know, I hate not having my computer with me. So, so that's the newsletter. And we were talking also about the possibility of using the good brilliance of the county public information people, either to help us to work on press releases, because press releases are big and they are very responsive to very specific things that we do. And we don't use them much at all. And we sure could. We talk about every time, well, many times we've reviewed the idea of telling history commission. Anybody know what that sound is?
I think I get it.
Getting a lot of feedback. Are you okay, Barbara?
I was trying to press buttons and I think
Uh-oh. Pressing buttons sounds a little bit scary.
So, Barbara, it looks like I could make you a panelist now. Nope, never mind.
Yeah, but look, it's actually got a microphone next to her this time. Oh, no.
Okay, I just expelled her from the meeting.
I can't see anybody now, but I can hear.
There we
Okay.
go. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, it was creating some funny feedback. So
No, I can hear too. I just, it's weird. I'm tired of WebEx.
So I'm still on the review of just the scatter shot of things that we've discussed. The follow-up on the newsletter is to get Tammy to send us a copy of what she was starting to put together, so that we can look at it and see what we think. And we can have meetings whenever we need a meeting, but if we can
I'll
sort of
take a look. I'll take a look. I might have it, but I don't know.
Yeah. If we can
But
make
it's not
a
on,
little
so it doesn't make a difference. Yeah.
make a little progress in between meetings, we can get Denise to tell us what the job of what kind of relationship we could have with either the DPD's communications person or the press office for press releases, or are we on our own? I mean, I'm fine either way, but I feel like it might be helpful, at a minimum, be helpful to talk to some of these people whose careers are all about public information. Okay, then we talked about encouraging contact between the Board of Supervisors and each of us. And that is each of our jobs. And it's something we should remind, if it needs reminding, but maybe it does, that, you really want to be talking to your supervisor about what's going on regularly, but you don't want to bore them. You won't. It's kind of hard because you want to have something to talk about. I was telling Denise the big excitement of my weekend was I laid eyes on my supervisor in person, and it was just amazing. We had an impromptu meeting and got a ton done, and it's like, yeah, now that we don't have to meet 100% by virtual, maybe that's how a lot of how our advocacy gets done is in person. Did we ever talk, Barbara and Carol, did we ever talk about maintaining a talking points list?
We talked about that.
I used to wish particularly when I was new, I used to think, gosh, if I ran into my supervisor I wouldn't know what's important and what I ought to talk about right now. I, I'm not sure what my priorities would be other than just to chit chat. So the trouble with that is a lot of times our talking points are just for our own supervisor, right? You can't
So-
really, I can't make up, I can't make up talking points for you Drainsville people.
Yeah, yours would be different than mine, yeah.
Yeah.
And may I interrupt for a second? So this committee met only once before?
No, we have not, but our last meeting was in March.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand why this is called an advocacy committee versus a public relations. Because the things that you just mentioned to me are all public relations related. Advocacy, to me, I would ask questions like, do you have a framework? For example, who are your target audiences? Have you segmented the audience? I mean, one can definitely be your supervisors, but then there's the community also.
Mhm.
And then based on each of the segmented target audience, have we developed key messages? Like in a newsletter, to me, it's more public relations.
Right, good point.
Well, that was when we very first gathered as an advocacy committee. That was sort of the issue that we struggled with, was who exactly were we targeting? Were we trying to reach the county community, or were we really trying to, sell ourselves to our supervisors?
Or both.
Yeah.
And so so again, my questions as a newcomer is, what do we need to sell? And why do we need to sell it? What's the current gap? And are we just, I'm still struggling with why are we calling this an advocacy committee and not a public relations?
I think that part of our problem is that there are there's a lot of confusion by the public as to whether or not we are a history organization, society, and people don't understand that we actually are representing the board as a commission for the county. But I think nobody knows what we do. And that was what we were really trying to help promote ourselves in terms of the value that we had and the work that we were doing.
So that the public, I mean, there's so much of what we're done is when the public reaches out to us to tell us things are happening. And I guess the point, Barbara, that goes along with what you just said is if more of the public knew that we are here to help them be a voice for history, then then we might do it better. Although if they reach out to their supervisors and the supervisor reaches out to us,
Right.
When I look at advocacy,
but most people mix us up with the a Fairfax Historical Society.
Right. That's true.
I mean, they don't know what the difference is.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the difference? What is our value added? So when I tell my friends that I have joined the History Commission, they all ask me, so what do you do? And then I don't find, I'm on a steep learning curve, so forgive me, but I don't find a pithy, succinct statement of why do we exist?
Yeah, the most boring explanation, because otherwise the elevator speech is not very good yet, but the most boring thing is that we are to advise the board of supervisors on all matters having to do with local history. I mean, it really is. And then we take that, we're very specifically told to go and make this list, this inventory of historic sites. And I mean, there are very few, very, very specific things that we do. Every so often, I look at our mission, and I think, are we doing it? Are we coming close? And I don't even see our mission statement here. We have the thing that people, I mean, really what we do is so limited. I hate to say it. We all think we all joined, and Barbara, you were the first one who really said it to me. It's like, we have no power. There's nothing we can do ever, which is almost right. Right? Do you remember? And,
Yes, I do.
because she was trying to look into this wonderful old place and save it, and there were very few tools to use to do that. So now we've since found there are some other tools, but there's no mechanism much to use them at this point. So we keep an inventory. We do all kinds of events. We do not all kinds. All of us in our own lives do all sorts of things in history, but the history conference educates people. The awards program helps people to
Recognizes
do research
people.
and recognizes research. The marker committee couldn't be more important in sharing history, teaching history, celebrating history. We have our one-off 100th anniversary of the World War I, and all kinds of programs related to that. The sesquicentennial of the Civil War was all kinds of programs related to that. I feel like we're on call for all kinds of history things. And then
Like last summer?
like last summer when we did our 500-page research paper on names of 26,000 places in the county. And then we get on with it.
Okay, so I understand. And how long have we existed?
In one form or another for 55 years, almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we need to come up with selling points.
Yeah, because when you look at our mission, our it's in the bylaws. Again, I don't have my laptop and I don't print anything, so my life is in my laptop. I hope it's okay. It's our bylaws echo the mission statement, and so you've been sent that, and it's very dry. It's very dry, Subi. The other thing we were talking about, Cheryl wrote me a couple days ago and said we ought to make an equity statement somewhere on our website, or a tagline for a lot of what we do. You know, Historic Vienna's tagline is something along the lines of creating community through an appreciation of our past, right? A little, if we could get a little short, much catchier phrase than that for History Commission would be fabulous. But speaking to equity very precisely, that may be a job for us as well, where we always say something like supporting the goals of one Fairfax, at least saying something like that. But that's related, but another matter. You're getting into the meat of the one of the real meats of the job, which is that I do always feel muddled about saying what we do. I don't have a good elevator speech. I love it. I know it. and I'm enthusiastic about it, but I don't, it doesn't roll off my tongue. Does it roll off your tongue, Carol?
Yeah, I don't have a problem, but that's all right.
Well, it's not a problem. Are you eloquent in 1 minute on what we do? And if so, share it with us.
Are you asking me if I'm eloquent? Of course I'm eloquent.
No. Okay.
Well, good for you because I'm not.
Carol is.
I mean, basically, we're promoting the history of Fairfax County. I mean, in a nutshell, that's what we do, and we're doing it through all the different venues that we do.
That's actually not, that's not half bad.
I mean,
Did you write it down? Hurry up.
I mean, you know, I mean, your historical societies promote the history of the historical societies, but we're different, and we're there at the, I want to say at the request of the supervisors, but we're doing things that they want us to do. We're updating the history, but we're basically promoting the history of Fairfax County through various venues.
You're absolutely right. In all these ways. I mean, this piece, I'm trying to think whose computer this is on. This little too many words, that could be dolled up. This is that little trifold, Carol. You can't see it, but you know what?
We were working on a trifold, I think, weren't we? On the advocacy.
We did one for the 275th, so that we'd have something to give away at our booth. Do you remember?
Okay, yeah, because I remember okay.
Oh, and it is out of date because remember we listed the history commissioner, so we knew it would be out of date soon. But yeah, so we're saying, okay, this has to be, this one line has got to be from our formal either mission statement, bylaws, or charter. The commission's function is to advise the county government and generally promote the public interest in all matters associated with the history of Fairfax County. And you just said that better, to say promote the history. But yeah, it's like that time I met somebody on the tree commission. I'm like, what the heck do you do? I still don't know, because his elevator speech wasn't very good either. So
what committee was he on?
Tree commission.
Oh, yes, I tried to engage them when I had that very old log cabin that I didn't succeed in saving and they tore down, but it had historic trees on the property. And I couldn't save it even for the trees.
Oh,
I took pictures.
Let's go back to the word advocacy for a minute, because the word advocacy makes you think about lobbying. Museum Advocacy Day is when everyone goes to Richmond and lobbies for all the issues that are important to museums.
So Subi's public relations is really more what we want to be.
I think so, unless one way it's not obviously advocacy has a lot of meanings, and really used loosely is kind of public relations related. One of the big things we kind of learned in the last couple of years is that we have more tools than we think to save a building, at least theoretically. And the moment that it became more clear to us was when Senator Survale came and spoke.
Right.
About first he spoke about one program that wasn't that relevant, I didn't think, but the other program was more aggressive use of historic overlay districts. And didn't we just make River, what's it called? River Farm, Wellington.
Yeah.
Didn't we just make
Yeah.
that a one property HOD? So that was kind of a big breakthrough. But of course, it took a big high profile deal that was connected to George Washington to make it happen. So we could, as advocacy, or our chairman could make it a priority. I mean, somebody could really push that aspect of, work with DPD, work with the ARB more aggressively, and try to make some progress on more extensive use of historic overlay districts. If but is our job preservation? That's only part of the job. So that's another point. I'm glad, I was saying how I hoped Subi would come, because you asked some of the basic questions that we need to be asking again, because we've kind of been muddling along for a while.
And I'd like to go back to the question of advocacy and public relations. I think of them as two different things. I think of public, and I'm happier with advocacy because that means we advocate things. Public relations tells me that we're public relations. So
so you're saying public relations is just sharing with the public what we're doing, not pushing for things, or?
Yeah, I think of newspapers and things like that more than that. Where when I think of advocacy, I think of it differently, but it's just a matter of terms.
But do you think some of what we're talking about just is PR? What would a short periodic newsletter be, but public relations?
Yeah, but you and I talked about maybe having before the Historical Society, we would be advocating. We were going to talk what the History Commission was doing. We would be advocating for the History Commission.
Uh-huh.
So I just think of it as two different things.
Yeah.
But maybe Sudi has a better station.
I just looked up the definition of advocacy, and it says the definition of advocacy is the act of speaking on the behalf of or in support of another person, place, or thing. An example of an advocacy is a nonprofit organization that works to help women of domestic abuse who feel too afraid to speak for themselves. So I'm not sure that advocacy is what we're looking for.
Unless we say we're advocating for the preservation of buildings, are we? That's where I think of something where we're actively trying, education is fine, and markers are fine, and it's all related to making people love history, so they want to preserve stuff. But advocacy, in my mind, goes best with the most frustrating part of our job, which is watching our history disappear as precious parts of our cultural landscape disappear. So there's an aspect of both in everything we're talking about, isn't there? How would you like to follow up? Because we can talk all night, but it would be good to kind of think about it and come back with some ideas. I like the idea of, since Tammy's not here, asking her to update her ideas on this very tiny newsletter that she was working on, because she could pull that out again and she's not here, so she'll have to say yes. And she's energetic, and she's energetic anyway, and gets a lot done.
Who is Tammy?
She's Tammy Manarino,
Tammy,
and
yeah.
she's one of the three Mount Vernon
Commissioners.
commission members, and she's just very good. She worked really hard on Wellington, River Farm. I mean, she's so she's already, that's something she kind of embraced and was hoping to talk to us about, but couldn't come. So I think that's a follow-up. I think we should try to decide if we are advocating for some very specific, that's how I think of it, advocating for, it's almost like advocating for action.
Yes, so I think a key difference between advocacy and public relations is broader and more general. You're just you're communicating or reaching out and sharing information.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas advocacy is you're really trying to make a change in a specific policy related to something.
Yeah.
Related to the preservation of buildings or whatever we want to call it, but it's more specific.
And those things come up all the time, like when we, when staff brings us the need to, the desire and need to do the Reston survey last year, and we agreed to kick in money if need be, and to support in whatever ways we can. But there's that kind of stuff. It's like each of our districts needs to be doing, and we probably do to some extent. I would like to see, I'm a member of the inventory committee, and we don't go out and do it. We don't say, we sometimes do, but we don't tend to say, that building ought to be on the inventory, and one of us ought to write the nomination. Well, that's not what we tend to do. Sometimes we're kind of backed into doing it, but usually somebody else writes about a place they're interested in and they submit it. So we're often in a passive role, like we are with markers.
Yeah, I was going to say markers are the same way. Yeah.
We're sitting here waiting for things to come through the door. And that is, when Mary was asked, remember, were we all on the board meeting last week? When Mary was asked what's the equity policy for a marker program, and
right.
and it sort of stunned her. So I looked up a few marker programs and how they word their equity aspects of their program. A few, like state of Pennsylvania is very thoughtful on it, and another one, I'll share that with you guys because it was it was very good to see how they're trying to get less passive and a little bit more proactive about getting a wider variety of submissions. So, and I think that's something that we could incorporate. And that, I don't know if that part is us, is it advocacy? I'm going to start calling us advocacy and PR because I think we're still fairly mixed. We want it all. We want it both. We want the world. We want all our friends to know what we're doing, and we want to save all the buildings. So I think this group is looking at.
And if not, we'll put up a marker.
And no. Before we put up the marker, we'll go and take pictures. Right?
Well, no, but I just, I mean, if we can't save the buildings, our tendency is to, mark the spot.
Yep. Near here stood Ravensworth, a Fitzhugh and Lee family home. I know my kids all know that one by heart.
So, so it seems like we have been more reactive um, so far. And I think moving forward, do you think we should, because I think we want to do both, as you just said. So PR is so advocacy is more action oriented, whereas PR is like a one-way communication. It's not a dynamic thing. So do you think we should think about having an action plan, a 6 months,
Ooh.
and then see what's coming down, and then see which of those are advocacy activities and which one of those are PR. I think we can always name or rename or
Yes,
the committee, right?
that's right.
But
Which is a good reason for not having it listed in the bylaws.
Well, you just want a few standing committees in the bylaws, and then you're
Right.
absolutely right. You want flexibility for these other ones.
so if we want to be advocates in promoting our history, what are the proactive actions we need to take?
Yeah.
We need to have a vision for that for the next 6 months to a year to be successful at it.
But I'm not sure. I mean, the whole commission is advocating for history. But I think that this committee, the intent is to let people know and promote what we're already doing.
Well, on the other hand, Barbara, I've often thought that we could also be the advisors to the rest of the commission.
Yeah.
To say, these are the things that we think as your advocacy committee, that we think are important for doing our jobs better. And we want you to help us to help make these things happen.
Wait. Give me an example. Give me an example.
I'm thinking of a few committees and a few people that you're not going to tell anything to.
There's not a soul. There's not a soul we can tell what to do. It's just fun to dream. Well, okay. So if we decided, some of this is very, it's too bad that Cheryl's not on here, because I feel like to some extent we could reflect the current chair's goals and plans if she has them. Is she going to do like I did and just muddle along, or is she going to have some initiatives and some?
Did you?
And no, I just muddled along.
Maybe we could advocate to Cheryl that she has some pet projects.
Yes.
It
may be that her pet project is the African American, what do we call it? History initiative. I don't think that's right. Inventory. Deny. It may be that that's.
Try. Yeah.
Yeah. But that would be good to know, so that we know that that's our kind of our biggest goal in the next few years is to. It's hard to say because each committee has its own goals as well.
Yeah, but maybe that's why the strategic plan is so important. I think every chair should have something in terms of legacy that he or she wants to leave behind.
Yes.
And maybe that's a question to ask Cheryl, is what is the legacy you want to leave behind?
That would be good for her 6 months into her time to think that way too, just in case she hasn't yet.
Right.
Because you know how everybody.
I mean, the poor woman hasn't had time to think
That's
in the
right.
last 6 months. So many weird things have happened.
Well, that's why it might be particularly good to talk big picture. And maybe we can make a plan to get her to our next meeting. You know, she had a conflict. But maybe we invite her very specifically to our meeting in August if we're not all on vacation.
I
August
leave
or-
on the 14th.
Yeah, we're gonna start running into vacations, but maybe September, August or September, and talk to her some of this big picture as well. Is there a way that she could see using this committee to promote what? So how about I write up a list of what we talked about today and give Tammy her assignment, because we haven't said that's a bad idea yet, right? It still might be something we want to do. And then, I mean, that's never going to hurt. That's PR, and that doesn't hurt no matter what we're called. Let me see if I had another idea before I jump away from that. Yeah. And then, if I just do a few bullet points of what we talked about today, and then invite Cheryl to be part of it next time. And in the meantime, what's all our assignments? I think you got us on a good track, Subi, of thinking action, not just the passive reporting of happenings. We like it too because we do feel that the world doesn't appreciate us. So we all like it, and it feeds into each other. My sense is if the Board of Supervisors is learning regularly, one way or another, the kinds of things we're doing, if there's some interesting stories about buildings that have been saved or markers that have gone up, that's all part of creating an atmosphere where we're more and more understood and important, and can have
and our supervisors appreciate us.
maybe not important, that might not be the right word. We've all turned just super cynical, Subi. I don't know if you can tell. We're all just here going, what are we doing?
That's okay.
Right, Barbara? I mean, the good one among us, the good one on this call is really Carol. She's really quite serious. And she gets on with stuff and gets stuff done. And then Barbara and I, we're sort of whiners. And I'm sorry, Barbara.
Thanks a lot.
I'm sorry if you don't agree with me, but that's my feeling. And
You
I
just
think it's
Okay.
my ego tremendously. That was great. Do it again.
what'd you say, Carol?
You boosted my ego tremendously. So that was great. Do it again.
Well, we're all valuable to our. I mean, gosh, if we all are so needed, and Barbara's the only voice of this commission for Mason District. So it's real. Barbara, I was just speaking with respect to this committee, which we've never very successfully even defined it. I wasn't talking about you and me generally speaking. Let me be perfectly clear. We're not whiners in the rest of our lives at all. But I personally think we've been wrestling with this, right?
Well, I think as a committee, yes, we have struggled with where we're going and what we're doing. And every time we've tried to get, our foot in the door or something off the ground, the world has shifted and we've been left sort of flat-footed. So
we were going to do a big project for the 50th anniversary of the group, and that didn't really work out for a variety of reasons, one of which nobody wanted to spend any money. So that made it hard. And then we had one meeting where the house, the 1894 building across the street was on fire.
Burned while we
Burning.
were in meeting and we watched. Yes.
There were 17 emergency vehicles outside our
Oh,
window.
my.
So, so we have had some really ineffectual meetings. So I
But
think we have a
we
little
were
bit.
off to such a really, really positive meeting. The one we had like the Friday before the world shut down for the pandemic, and we were all socially distanced around that table upstairs.
That was a good one. And now we're just getting started. We're getting our feet wet again, ladies, and getting ourselves moving again.
And I did look that picture up, and unfortunately, it's a picture of me in front of the caboose, in front of the
Oh,
Freeman.
Carol, it was much more interesting than that.
You looked at me as we went to our cars.
I remember. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, so our follow up. I'm gonna wrap this up because we will have been going for nearly an hour and 20 for some of us, and then
And my phone is going to die.
and your phone will die. So I like I say, we're going to invite Cheryl. I've written down all the things that we want to do. We're going to invite Cheryl to our next meeting. We're going to ask Tammy to make her a proposal to give us something to talk about for our
Mock up, yeah.
what we're calling more the public relations part of what we might be taking on, and I think putting Cheryl as chair in on this, I want us to make a list, each of us, of what we would want to advocate for, what is not being done or not being done well in our purview that could be better. And some of that might be, and like you say, and then you said it better. What do we want to change, Subi?
Mhm.
What changes do we want to make, or what do we want to do better? So let's create that list between now and the
Okay.
next meeting. And what else? Is there anything else on our list? It's not a big task list we've made for ourselves yet. I will track down the mailing list that Greg updated. It started with Mary and then Greg updated it. So I'll get that from him if I don't have it on my hard drive. And we'll tick along. And like I say, I think the whole feeling of advocacy relies on us having the advocacy, as I think of it, there. I think we have to be precise with how we use it. I think of advocacy as having a real good relationship with each of our supervisors. I think that's so that we can advise them, work with them, get them to want to do stuff we want them to do, that we advise them to do. We asked before we had a meeting at Lee District before Chairman McKay was chair, when he was Lee District Supervisor, and we said, it was Gretchen and me, and we said, can we use this program for rehabilitating buildings to target buildings over a certain age, or buildings on our list of our inventory of historic sites? Can we use those? There are programs, you use whatever laws in Richmond that gives you the ability to do things. And so we had identified this law for building renovation that I don't remember it very well, but it was made into a board matter, and the county was looking at it. Denise may remember how that ended up, but it didn't, or else it didn't end up, and we need to still pursue it. it was just an effort to look at something that might end up being a tool. Because we found a city in Virginia that was using this law, whose name I can't remember, to encourage people to rehab and reuse old buildings over a certain age. And we thought,
But that is
that's
something that has bothered me since I've been on the commission. I mean, I think we sort of have this knee-jerk reaction to anything old, and sometimes I'm not sure that they are the things we should be preserving. And I think we fail to really define what we think is important for preservation. We just kind of react.
well, but yeah, that I can kind of see that. But at least we've gotten so that we understand there are 20th century buildings that are worth saving. Where I think we're making progress.
But I
You're
think
right.
we have to define that better. We have to know why we're saving things, or what our scope is. We can't save everything. I mean, we can't begin to save everything.
Yeah, but
and shouldn't. But we have to define what it is we want to save and why.
But do we, or is that more something you let the community? I mean, we could work with communities. I wouldn't presume to tell Herndon they ought to save a particular building, but I would support that.
But if you only do it that way, you end up with the wealthier, better able communities working to preserve their things, and the poorer communities without the advocates
That's a
and
good
the
point.
money,
That's a good point.
who fail to preserve things that are important because they just don't have the money, the time, and the people.
Well,
And so I think that's where we should be providing better guidance and better definition of what it is the county should be preserving.
Yes, and I think that sort of fits in. Barbara, I completely agree with you. I think that fits in very well with our stated purpose of advising the supervisors in the county, because I think we need to be the ones issuing the guidelines.
But on the other hand, you guys, we save almost nothing in this county. So we're really talking only theoretically. I mean, it's nice to talk theoretically, but no matter what we say, it's really hard to save buildings.
Well, we don't have the tools. We don't have the power.
Yeah. So this is this is kind of good. I'm glad this went in this direction. So could you stand doing this, Barbara? And don't make it a big mountain, keep it a molehill, and just make an outline of your thoughts on this particular matter, of how we would advocate for, like the support we gave for the which is modest, but we give kudos to Denise all the time for the Pride of Fairfax write-up that the county's doing or had done, and all the Gum Springs stuff. We have some communities that are being protected or tried to be protected. And then maybe this is part of our African American Heritage Project to, while we're at it, have an overlap of the committees where we go, well, we've identified this community and this community and this community. And gee, while we were at it, we noticed that there's this building that's terribly at risk that just a few people in the community are really upset about. They could use our support. I don't know.
I will try to put it, to make an outline of some sort for you. But I mean, it's something that's bothered me, that I just feel like I mean, there are some buildings on which we have spent years, you know, doing God knows what all to preserve, and I think we overlook, and I guess it's because I don't feel like there's a clear definition of what
And
we're
there
after
isn't.
and what we're supposed to.
I have a feeling this is like an age-old question in these circles, in preservation generally. So it's a good one. And it's the magic of meetings that you can raise something so fundamental to what we're doing. You're speaking to the whole purpose of our organization. Yay, Barbara.
And I'm down to about 20% of phone
Yeah,
left.
me too. I only
Well,
have two.
we have some really good, this is good not to go past 8:30, and we have some good follow-up, and we can all talk individually also. We never, you never want to diminish the importance of anytime anybody wants to pick up the phone and talk one-on-one. Thank God that's still legal, right? So
Well, I'll try not to whine, Anne.
well, no, that's my job. only when we're on WebEx meetings for advocacy. It's just so frustrating.
No,
okay?
just WebEx is making me whiny.
Oh,
Kind of liked it. She said I was serious and got things done. I liked that.
well,
Good.
you have a very nice presence, and you have a good, really short elevator speech. So,
Which I expect you to write down and send to all of us.
okay,
Yeah.
It was pretty simple. What can I repeat it? It was like, we promote the history of Fairfax County, right? Is that what you said? So I like that. I'm never going to say it in any other way. Okay, ladies, if you can stand to be adjourned, but whatever pops into your head later, write me and let me know, and we'll do this again. I hope you'll join us full time, Sue, because we can tell that you're a real added value. So I know everybody's going to be fighting over you. So I hope we win.
I'll come in as much as I can. Yeah.
Well, that's the truth with everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
All we can do is look at we just can't ever get us all together at the same time. Once in a while. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Anne. Thanks, everybody.
And thank
Okay.
you,
Good night.
Barbara, and thank you, Carol and Denise. If you're still paying any attention to us, we're hanging up now.
Thank you, Anne.
That was a pretty great meeting. Did you listen to any of it?
No, I was here the whole time. Yeah.
But yeah, I just loved the way some of it was going. Loved
Yes.
some good big picture stuff.
Well, it was somebody with a master's in historic preservation loved some of those conversations that were happening.
I did too. I mean,
Yes.
it's just really like, ooh,
Yeah.
we can teach a whole course. Wait, we can.
Yeah. No.
love
It was an exciting conversation for sure.
It's kind of
but I think your point about it being very theoretical, and I don't know what will come of it. I'll try not to get my hopes up.
Yeah, no, it's really, we are all fairly cynical. So, and I just don't want to be, but I do want to roll. I love the idea of rolling Cheryl into this so that